guys, have you recently been seeing the action that's been going on with gold and you want to get in on it? You most certainly can. All you have to do is call this number right here or go to NobleGoldInvestments.com. I assure you it'll be worth your while. So again, go to NobleGoldInvestments.com or call them at this number right here to get in on the action. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the podcast. Welcome, one and all. We are back. It has been 2 weeks, count them, 2 weeks since we have had Beyond the Headlines, and we are back. So can we get a 5x5 for everyone that can hear me? Linda, welcome to the show. I'm so glad we're here together again. It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It has, but it's been a busy minute.
It's definitely been a busy minute, and you've brought a guest with us, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I brought Gene.
We got Gene with us. Let me pull this back up. I don't know why that crashed. There we go. And Gene, welcome to the show, my friend. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Thomas, for inviting me. Hi, Linda. Nice seeing you again, beautiful lady.
There we go. So, guys, it's been a minute. People are stoked. They've been waiting for 2 weeks to hang out with us. And we got a good show for you guys today. But before we get into any of that, my friends, I need each and every one of you to subscribe to True Reporting. I need you to subscribe to McAllister TV. I need you to follow me and Linda on Twitter at True Reporting, at Linda_Paris. And if you want to donate to this channel, super chat this channel, do whatever you can to keep it afloat. You guys have been hitting home runs lately, and I greatly appreciate it. Please hit up Linda's PayPal and Patreon as well. You know that we are in this all together, and we are fighting evil every single day. And my friends, we are fighting an invisible enemy. And we will be talking about another invisible enemy, because today we are going to be talking about tuberculosis. We're going to be talking about how it coincides with the COVID-19 virus. We're going to be talking about haunted hospitals. We're going to be talking about plagues. We're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff, bioweapons, chemical weapons. It's going to be an in-depth show. So that's why we brought Gene. Gene.
Yes, sir.
What do you know? And Linda, also, this is you brought Gene with you today. So this is very interesting for everybody. So I'll ask this. How about this? Linda, why did you bring Gene on today?
Well, I brought Gene on because of his decodes and because of his knowledge about what's happening right now. And especially the decodes about the Hollywood decodes that you did, Gene. You know, we know some of it, but you added so much more to those decodes, especially the whole, the museum little thing. And I watched what you were doing with Rick last night on that, talking about the detail in that thing that she had set up there and all the meaning behind it. It's fascinating, really, because we don't know that much. We're not into it that much.
Yeah, usually what happens is I see one of the different anons on the one with the cards that you got that I did, Inya Nguyen on her 3D to 5D consciousness. I saw her doing some of it, but because I studied decoding and I worked on some of that kind of thing in the military when I was in the Navy in submarines for over 20 years. And then also I've studied the satanic codes and the Illuminati and all their codes and the different secret societies as well, and all their code speak and their handshakes, and when they pass each other, all the hand codes and things they did, even just driving from one car to another, there's codes they throw to acknowledge each other. And so when I see the codes in other people, I have that 30 years of experience of many books I've got that I've studied over the years and documents and things. So I recognize a little bit more than the average person does. So she did a great job, but I was like, it's missing some stuff. So I did that for Rick on Blessed to Teach, and you caught it and brought it up. And so the same thing when you were doing the one on the Legos and stuff, I go, you're missing a few things.
Yeah. Well, look.
And it's no fault of your own. It's just, that's how it is. We all know what we know.
Yeah,
I'm fortunate to know a little more.
And I always say that I don't I'm not that familiar with it, because a lot of times, you can either do this or that. So we're making videos. We do as much research as we can, but to learn all these comms is really impossible while you're making videos all the time. You got to do one or the other.
Yeah, I'm noticing that now with doing 5 different platforms and then answering over 200 emails a day. I don't have much time to learn anymore and research. It's just decoding stuff and sending it to people and doing shows and answering emails. So I'm glad I have 30 years of experience, because over the last 2 months, especially once that viral exploded through Europe on the DUMBs, it went all over Europe and all over the world. I think now it's probably in the 10 million view range, because I get stuff and they say, I saw you on, I'm Poland anon, I'm German anon, I'm China anon, all these people. I mean, oh my goodness. So it's all over the world. So people don't realize, and wow, Linda, your stuff too. I mean, people talk about it all over the world. We don't realize that we go all over the world. All these wonderful anons like Thomas and you, and your memes are off the chart. They're just amazing. I laugh every time so hard. It's so great.
Yeah, I mean, we are all over the world. We're hitting home runs left and right, and I need to, for the show, I'm looking up right now. A lot of people don't know this, but tuberculosis, not that long ago, 1.6 million deaths. 1.6 million deaths. Tuberculosis conditions, it says cough, which lasts 2 to 3 weeks, cough with blood in sputum, rapid weight loss. A lot of people died of this, and a lot of people are questioning. A lot of people in the audience, a lot of anons. I think we've all come to the conclusion, even the president has hinted at this, that this was 100% a weapon. Wouldn't you say so, Gene?
Yes, absolutely. And the paper trail, again, the 3D to 5D gal on her show on 3D to 5D consciousness had all of the paperwork showing that it was developed, that this virus was developed in the P4 lab, or was in the P4 lab, and then it was developed in several other labs. She showed the paperwork. She showed Purebright Institute. She showed the documents for everything, showing the Purebright, and that Bill Gates patented Purebright was set up by the Rothschilds and the Queen of England, showing the money trail, everything, and they deleted her video off YouTube. And so the same thing goes with this tuberculosis. They weaponized it, and then in Asia, they vaccinated all the Asians with it in the polio vaccines. They laced the polio vaccines in Asia with tuberculosis. And my wife is Asian, and anybody that's Asian that was born over there, they carry it, but they don't get it because their lungs adapted and developed a different type of areoli, what's called ACE2, and that's what they targeted the corona 19 virus to go after. It goes after that specific modification in the lung, and that's why Asians, especially males, have a way higher mortality rate from this virus because of the adaptation. And they plan this stuff literally centuries in advance. So they planned tuberculosis. They knew it would modify the lung. And then they knew that they would be able to develop another virus to then kill a whole lot of Asian males so they could winnow the population in Asia down.
I have to say something really quick it scares me. I'm going to be honest with you. This is not good news. This is, very close to my heart. But my best friend, who I've known since I was 3 years old, JC Parker 369, I talk about him a lot. Half Asian, had to go get tested for this in Florida for the COVID. He is not doing good. He's having problems breathing. He was doing okay. Now he is not doing good. Half Asian descent, Korean descent, and he's a 35-year-old male. Not doing good at this moment. So if everyone who I know he has about 3,000 followers on Twitter, please say your prayers. Say a prayer for JC Parker 369 at JC Parker 369. I talked to him the other day. He sounded fine. Then today, literally was not. He sounded really, really, really bad. So that brings, just to bring everyone up to speed, just send him leave him a little love, okay? This is very scary times for him, and he is a physician, so he's very nervous. He knows what's going on, but so I just wanted to get that out into the collective consciousness. So, right, so there is also a quote-unquote AIDS factor to this quote-unquote weapon, correct?
Yes, they put not just AIDS. If you look at the genetics of the virus, they have inserts, which means in the genetic strand, they cut it with the virus, and then it inserts genetic material. So they inserted not just AIDS, but it also has SARS inserted as well, and then also a virus that's from a snake.
Mm-hmm. My father was a rheumatologist. He dealt with blood and everything for 34 years, for a very, very long time. And I asked him multiple times. Today, in fact, I told him if this, in fact, wasn't a weapon. My father is completely blue-pilled, doesn't know anything. I said, is it possible for the transferal of animal AIDS into humans? And he said no, because it's just like if a cat has feline AIDS, there's no way a human can, be infected by that. It just doesn't work that way. So I said, well, wouldn't that add up to this being a weapon, saying that they caught this from bats? And he said, in science, with a scientific method, yes, that this would be in fact a weapon slammed on to its own, tested on its own people. No.
Yeah, that was brilliant the way you came at that. I'm going to use that. Thank you. That's brilliant. I love that. That was very intelligent and well put. Yes, exactly. And until we saw AIDS I'm sorry, a little bit wigged out right now with all the stuff going on.
Sure.
Until AIDS came up, there's been only 4 viruses that have ever jumped the species barrier. And so with AIDS, and you can look that up, the man who created AIDS, WHO, period. In other words, Dr. Wolf Smoosness created it at Fort Detrick in Maryland. And until they had a very specific tissue culture, they could not create viruses in the lab, because viruses are very virulent. That means they consume the host's material for food really quick. In the case of AIDS, it consumes the sugar coat of the cell, the monopolysaccharide sugar coat on the cell, which is, it's magnesium dependent. So another thing with AIDS, you can tell that it has to have come from sheep or cattle, because it's the first virus, and only cattle specifically have a magnesium sugar coat on their T4 cell. So in 1952, there's a woman that was named Lulu, had a type of spinal meningitis that she came to the hospital with a backache, and by the morning it had consumed her entire spinal column. And so the doctor's eyes lit up, as now they have a tissue culture they can use to clone viruses. In other words, combine viruses in a tissue that grows faster than the viruses can consume it. So then they were able to just start recombinating. But when a virus reproduces, it has to have a host. It can't do it on its own. It's not like us. It's not 100% a living thing. It has to have a host cell. So like the AIDS virus uses the T4 cell in the human, and that's what the Vishnu virus in sheep does. You can see how it's a cross between the Vishnu virus in sheep and the bovine leukemia virus that's magnesium dependent. And the Vishnu virus causes dementia, while the bovine leukemia virus causes the cow to get all thin. And that's why in Africa they call it the skinning's disease, because it makes people all skinny. So when a virus uses a host, what it does is it uses one of 4 enzymes. In the case of AIDS, it uses reverse transcriptase. to take its genetic material and inject it in the host cell nucleus. It inverts its genetic structure into the nucleus, which then becomes a factory for making all the parts of the virus. That when it's assembled to all the parts it can inside the host nucleus, the nucleus explodes into the cell, and then the virus parts assemble inside the cell and usually consume the cell's interior and burst through the lining of the cell, the host cell, and take that lining as their own. In the case of AIDS, it actually has the lining when it assembles in the cell, so it has a double lining. And then because it used the host cell, it now has, every time you do that, just like when two people have kids, they carry the genetic structure of each parent. In this case, because it's only one parent, it's going to carry some of the genetic structure of the parent. So with AIDS, because it's all these viruses man-made, if they're grown in a tissue culture in a lab, they're going to have some of the genetic structure. They call it the Lulu factor from that lady that had that spinal meningitis that they'd never seen. So it's really super easy to find if a virus is natural or not. So if you look at corona, does it have the Lulu factor? Yes, it does. Does AIDS? Yes, it does. Does the tuberculosis we're seeing in people all over Asia? Yes, it does. Does even ones you wouldn't expect, like feline leukemia? It has it. The hepatitis A and B, it has it, which means all of those are made in a lab, every single one of them.
So there, we'll leave it with that. I want to hit some super chats up. I like to stay up with this. John Howe, always slamming donations. Thank you so much, John. He says, good evening, everybody. Love this show. Wish it was not blurry. John, you say that a lot, my man. I mean, we're using a 4K camera. I don't know what to say. I hope no one else seems to have this problem. I don't know what that is, my man, but John, either way, I appreciate the donations, my friend. Thank you so much. Tissenhow, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for your generosity. Kevin Danos says, no more sleep. Where we go, when we go all. And I know me and Linda are extremely tired as we are producing as much content. We're producing a ton of content out there. Jay Britt, thank you so much, Jay Britt. She says, Beyond the Headlines is back, baby. Absolutely. Wandering Minds, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, my favorite show / decodes signals intelligence info. Absolutely. We try to do our best. Lily's mom, thank you so much for the super chat as well. Thank you, Lily's mom. Claudette Petchert, thank you so much for the super chat. Claudette, I greatly appreciate it. Kevin Danos again, thank you. It says, Perbright Institute and Welcome Trust look up. Perbright Institute and Welcome Trust says we should look that up. So I will definitely write that down real quick. Perbright Institute and Welcome Trust. All right, we got that down. A couple more, and then we'll continue forward. Donald Mott, thank you so much. He says, hello, Thomas and Linda. Hello, Donald. How are you, my friend? There you go. B. Gabrillo, thank you so much for the super chat. B, I appreciate it, my friend. So, Linda, do you find that this is a weapon? Do you think that all of these quote unquote virus diseases are under the spectrum of weapon?
Yeah, I do. I think they've had plenty of time to come up with all of this stuff. And I think hearing about this generational, that they're coming up now with different types of diseases using different animal DNA that's going to be stuck in people for generations. Mm-hmm. I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know. This isn't anything new. And my mom died of cancer. Mm-hmm. So I believe cancer is another one of their engineered
weapons. Diseases. Sure. No, I think they're all under that spectrum. And do you think they're testing it? We tested on our own people, just like the Tuskegee Airmen, right?
You mean all of these diseases?
Sure.
I think they test them anywhere they can. I think if you're in the military, not now, but previously, if you were in certain branches of the military, you might run a risk of being tested for some of this stuff, all kinds of things. And I think they do it anyway. like without anybody's consent or knowledge. I think they find ways to do it. I remember the Clinton Foundation had donated a bunch of mosquito nets to a village in Africa. And after the village used the mosquito nets, they all got sick and died. So that right there tells you, that they're what's up with that? That's not a coincidence. So that sounds like they were trying to infect people through these mosquito nets, which, why were they doing that? You want to know?
Well, I think 100% that I think that the Chinese definitely tested this on their own people. I think it ran amok. And I think they were going to dump it on us, and then it spread throughout Europe, and then eventually got over here because of flight. That's what happened with it. And it's the same thing that happens with tuberculosis. 1.6 million people. That's a lot of people. Gina, there we go. Gina, you back?
Yeah, I'm just listening. I stay muted unless you want me to talk. So.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what was taking place. Go ahead, Linda.
Anytime you see me on mute, I'm ready to say something.
Perfect. Let me wait on Linda. You had something to say real quick?
Just one thing.
Sure.
That, I believe they engineer the diseases, and then they give you the vaccine, which is more diseases. It's like total population control. I think they've been doing it for a very, very, very long time.
This is a great point. Snooze button says they test on prisoners.
Yep.
I agree. Gene, what do you think about all that? Gene.
Did he go?
No, he's still here. Gene, are you there?
He says you muted him.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Gene, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay, just leave yourself. Don't click the mute button. I just leave it alone, and we'll be good. What do you think about what Linda just said?
Yeah, they definitely do that. When I was in the military, my last tour was short duty in Hawaii. I was working out on Ford Island. We had on Ford Island 5 black people in our command, and I was training the guy that was relieving me, who was a black guy, and we're doing a class. I teach them hands-on how to do the class. It's in a skiff area because of the classification of the material we're covering. And so I was so busy and into the class, and I couldn't really break. And then somebody came in that had the clearance, came in and said, "You guys are the last 2 in the command. You got to get out there and get your vax." So for the flu that we have to get every 6 months. So we went over to the other building on the island there and went in where they were vaccinating. The whole trash cans, of course, full of all the little ampules they've been vaccinating. And I noticed right away that almost every ampule in the trash can has this blue tape on it, except for a couple, like 3 or 4, that had this red tape. And so I told him, I thought, it's like, that's weird. There's 2 vaccines? 2 different vaccines. Why is that? So I told him, I just did this whole experiment, that it came into my mind today. I go, you go first because I have to do something before we go back. So you go ahead and get in and get the students back in the room and get everything going. So he started getting in, and they loaded up there was a red vial and a blue vial with the red tape and the blue tape. They loaded up the red, and I go, what am I thinking? As soon as they did that, I go, what am I thinking? You can't get into the skiff. You don't have the clearance, and you don't have the code for the cipher on the door. I'll have to go first. So they started to load. They took out the red one and put in the blue one. I go, oh, you know what? I need you to do the errand with me. So we'll just have to delay the class. So I'll go ahead and go first so I can get into the skiff because I'm faster than you. And so they took out the vial again. I said, you go first. They put the red one in. I said, no, I'll go first. They put in the blue one, and they broke the blue one. So they reloaded the red one, and I was still in the front of him. And I said, okay, I'm ready. And they go, if it's okay with you, we'll just give this one to him and write down that you got yours, if you're fine with that. And I go, yeah, I'm fine with that. Wow, they can't give me the red vial that's just for him. The blue vial they can't give that, is broken, so they can't give me the red one. And there's exactly 5 red vials and 5 black people in our command. So yeah, I totally agree with Linda that they're experimenting on military people, giving them stuff. If you look up bad blood, where they wouldn't allow people that had the syphilis back in the 30s, once they developed penicillin, they wouldn't allow them to get it. They tracked them even when they moved out of the South up to the North. They wouldn't allow them. They tracked them. They watched their kids dying from syphilis, that got it when they were born. They wouldn't allow them to get treated, wouldn't allow doctors to give it to them. Then if you want, people want to look about what I was saying about AIDS being created, if you look up the Congressional Budget, Section 5, 1970, you can go to Supreme Court Law Library, go down what's called the tombs, look up the congressional budget. You'll see that they funded a disease to target the human immune system, either targeting T4 or S6. It was Dr. Sykes and Aquino. We all know who Aquino is. Was in that attempt. Aquino was asking if it would be possible. He said, of course it would. He goes, why has it not been done? Lack of funding or lack of desire? He said, certainly not a lack of desire. He said, what kind of funding do you need? He said, $10 million. It's a $150 million grant as a joint research project to be done at Fort Detrick in Maryland by the KGB, the MI6, and the CIA. Yup, 1970. Think about that. Cold War? Yeah, right.
Well,
the CIA, the KGB, and the MI6 are working at Fort Detrick to develop a disease that targets the human immune system. Then go look up the congressional budget for 1973. You have what's called Mark Naomi. Mark Naomi was to be put in the smallpox vaccines in Africa to eradicate smallpox by the World Health Organization. Wonder what that would be, huh? And what does everybody in Africa share that has the AIDS virus? They all had sex with one guy? Yeah, right. Millions and millions of people. They all are eating green rhesus monkeys. That was another cover story. Who's around the monkeys? The pygmies. Do they have it? No. They all are going to these hospitals, little tent cities they set up all over Africa by the World Health Organization. And these people weren't even doctors given the vaccinations. They're all vaccinated with Mark Naomi, which is their name. Mark is a military army term. That's their name for the army project to disseminate the AIDS virus throughout Africa. And then in the US, they vaccinated in Chicago, New York, with the hepatitis B vaccine. Mark Naomi was put in that vaccine in 1974 in Chicago, New York, and San Francisco. That's how come all of the gay people got it, because they all had been previously being vaccinated with hepatitis B. So they would have to get that vaccine once they were ready to give them, had the AIDS virus developed.
Real quick, Gene, from Pepe Powell says, you mentioned bad blood. Check this picture out. Boom. Look at this. I'm going to share this with you both real quick. Give me 1 second. Boom. And share. Where did you guys go? Right there. Do you see it?
oh,
wow.
There you go.
Army of none.
Army of none. Bad blood. Educated, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But when you mentioned bad blood, thank you, Pepe Powell. I do remember this picture, and I wanted to bring it up real quick to you guys. Bill Gates holding up the book. If that's not comms, I don't know what is. But I wanted to share that with you. Linda, you had something to say real quick?
well, yeah, I wanted to say that Mae Brussel, right around the time talking about Aquino and all of this stuff, she was a radio host in Northern California. And she was trying to warn everybody about this. She kept talking about Michael Aquino working with the Nazis, that the Nazis were here because of Operation Paperclip. They were in California, that Aquino was working with them, and that they were using all this stuff. And she kept saying this over and over again, on us. She kept saying, they're not using it on our enemies. They're not using it on the Russians. As a matter of fact, the Russians are in on it. But nobody would listen to her. Now, I think some people did, but you know how that is. That's like, this was in the 70s, the late 70s. And, and so it's wild now for people who are just finding out about it. But can you imagine back then hearing it?
Oh my God. I mean, you would be so pissed off about this. I want to go through some more super chats real quick because we have questions that are coming in. The Kathy. Hey, Kathy. She says, sprayed my dad with Agent Orange. There's another another point made right there. What do you think about that? Just quickly, Linda, what do you think? You think Agent Orange? They definitely tested that on people too, right?
Oh, and yeah, another thing I wanted to bring up, the Agent Orange, that's another one. And also, if you just look back to the 60s when they were putting LSD in, they were putting LSD in people's military, and I don't know whether this was the military or the CIA or the FBI, but one of them was giving people LSD, and that guy jumped out the window. He went out of his mind.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And he jumped out the window because he didn't know that they had given him LSD. So they were giving people LSD. It all came out. It was a big scandal back in the 60s, even. So that if they would do that back in the 60s, what limit would they put on themselves?
Right. I mean,
forward?
We're plebs, we're slaves. They'll do anything they want to us because they're guinea pigs. Navy Vet, what's up, Navy Vet? Thank you so much. He says, George, the Twitter handle, confirmed children on the USNS ships. I saw the pictures, absolutely disturbing. They are going to see the light of day. It's going to be beautiful. Absolutely, Navy Vet. Sample MM, thank you so much. He says, I am a big fan of Gene. He radiates warmth and love and is so kind to help educate us. You and Linda are pretty awesome as well. Thank you so much, Sample MM. I appreciate that. Art by LJ. Thank you so much. He says, Skeeter nets. Hope and pray they did not put that crap in the medical masks. The machines that they sent out, the testing, the 15-minute testers that they put out, those were infected that they were sending to Britain, I believe, or Britain coming to us. These people are sick. That don't put it past them. Carolyn King, thank you so much, Carolyn. She says, faith, not fear. Where we go one, we go all. Much love, Patriots. Q sent me. Absolutely. Sent all of us. Lisa Pack, thank you so much, Lisa, for the super chat. Paul Macca, this is crazy. Hello from Tasmania. Wow. He says, as we know, everything is energy. Stay positive. Fill your thoughts with love, happiness, joy. Nothing can defeat God's vibrational energy. That's amazingly said. Paul, welcome aboard from abroad, my friend from Tasmania. Wow. Gary Huey, thank you so much, my friend, for the super chat. He says, a train driver tried to run off the rails and crash into the USNG Mercy ship. Crazy. He literally ended up 250 yards away from it. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. He was never going to get there in the first place. Some sort of distraction, some sort of FF, who knows. Lisa R., thank you so much for the super chat. She says, I heard the theory that China didn't tell the world what was happening because they didn't want to be the only one to take an economic hit. They're sick people. They're communists. Very, very bad people. Kevin Danos, thank you so much. He says, these people are sick. They keep asking for blood. Have you seen this, Linda? All these celebs now are asking for blood.
Are you kidding?
On Twitter. They're asking for donations of blood.
Are you kidding me?
Madonna did it, yeah. They did.
So it's not going to be difficult, I guess, to convince the people who are asleep that all this stuff we're trying to tell them is true if they're out there begging for blood on television.
And I want to give Linda, I want to give you 100% props because you never, ever strayed away from the fact that there are deep underground military bases that people are being harvested in. And look what's happening. You're pulling kids out from under these tunnels. And you were right. And I said that on the show the other day. I gave you mad props. I said she never backed off from that theory.
Yeah, no, I never could because all these people coming out from these dumps over the years, I mean, from the 80s even, they're screaming, they're begging people to listen. And like I was talking about a little while ago with Mae Brussel, she's out in the 70s. She's talking about this stuff. Nobody believed her. You know, she's screaming it at the top of her lungs that Nazis are over here. They're working with the military and underground bases. Nobody believed her. And right. She was 100% right. You know, she was trying to warn people. So, yeah, it's like these people coming out throughout all this time period and saying the same exact thing. I'm not backing off the lizards either.
No. And I'm not either. And
backing off the lizards either.
We'll get into that as well. Michelle Lane, MSN, RN. Thank you, Michelle. She says, Gene, can you point out, this is a question for Gene. Gene, and just, we'll just touch on it for a second. Gene, can you point out why Maryland always has creepy things going on in that state?
Yes, it's got a huge dome under there. It was called the Temple of Seven. And they also had the Temple of 13 and the Temple of 3. So those are 3 big, huge satanic ritual temples that are big domes under there where they would take the kids and do the stuff. When you do that and you kill people in that manner, it puts a very bad energy in a location, which they do on purpose.
Wow. And a couple more. Cassandra Morris, thank you so much for the super chat, Cassandra. I appreciate your generosity. Johnny Bear 19 says we are about to turn on the lights. My friends, I believe that this is a 10-day nighttime operation. I believe they're pulling kids up right now. I even believe that tonight, from what I've heard, from what I've read and researched, from even with JC Parker not doing well, we still communicate very closely. We think it's going to start going on tonight, that these operations definitely kick off. We're ready for it. Grandpa C, thank you, Grandpa C, says, Thomas, you're okay. Linda is a babe. Hubba hubba keck. There we go. I'm just.
Grandpa C.
There you go. There you go. I see you're sending me stuff, Gene, on the chat, so I will definitely. Let me pull this over here. I got to see how this works. I cannot play videos, Gene, because it can bring down this channel, but I can definitely see some other stuff.
You can pull up that book. It's the lady that was contacted me who has been in this SRA stuff for many years. She got herself free. She's having horrendous physical difficulties. This very kind person went through and has been in dumps all over, like Edgewood Arsenal and many others that are in my dumb decode. When I did that decode on Rick's, I mentioned the ones, the ultras. She literally vetted everything I said in this interview. That if people want to contact me at my Gmail, I can send them that interview she did, as well as the copy of the book. You could show that probably, right, Thomas? Mm-hmm. And then while you're doing that, I wanted to make a couple. If your screen's fuzzy, it's your buffering. Go out and come back in. Just click on Thomas's logo and then go to his channel and click on the show, and it'll come back and it'll stop buffering like that.
There you go. There you go. So I want to get back. Onto on the train tracks real quick. No pun intended with the derail earlier. All right, so we're talking about, we all agree, we're all in agreement that, this is definitely, these are weapons tried out on American people, tried out on the Chinese people, on everyone really. And, President Trump nipped it in the bud and saved millions of lives. So with tuberculosis, I just looked it up. This is still a real thing. It's still around. It's actually increased from what I read. The severity of it has actually, move this out of the way, has actually gone up. If I can get to it real quick. Yes, tuberculosis is still a thing. In fact, during the past decade, there has been an increase in the number of TB cases reported in Dallas, Texas. So it never really went away. We do get TB shots and stuff, in quote vax, as we know. We can't really say that word out totally, but this is something very bad. It killed 1.6 million people. I think that they test all this stuff on all of us. So to kind of go into the area of what actually this show is all about, we get into conspiratorial stuff. We get into strange things out there. A lot of hospitals out there that are now condemned, are now very much haunted, were tuberculosis hospitals. Why are these tuberculosis hospitals so haunted? Linda, you want to talk about that for a minute? Do you want to go into that a bit? And I can bring up some places that are definitely haunted from this.
Well, I don't really know about tuberculosis hospital. I have never heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
Tuberculosis hospitals, but I have some haunted hospital stories from my friend. I don't want to say her name because I didn't get permission to say her name. She's on my Twitter. She's my Twitter friend. You know who you are. And I just jotted down one of them. She's a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
She works in a hospital. And she says that she's had so many, and she just started writing me some. And I thought, that's really a good story. I said, I want to tell that on Beyond the Headlines. And she sent me some more. But the one that I wrote down is that of course, she's working at nights, and it's, have you ever been in a hospital before at nighttime? And it's all quiet. It's kind of eerie anyway in its own self when you start thinking that people have died there, so many people. So she's working there at night, and that they had a ghost in the hospital that did not like country music. Mm-hmm. And everybody had an old radio, and it was located in an x-ray room. There was only one way in, one way out. And they would all put on music, their own stations. But every time anybody put on that country music station, the radio would turn off. It was like an old radio. You had to actually turn the knob off. And it would happen time and time again. That country station would turn off, and they'd go on there, and the knob was physically turned.
Crazy. That's I wanted to show you this, Linda, real quick. Tuberculosis hospitals. There was the Lima hospitals in Iowa, there was one in Iowa, one in Ohio, and they would actually turn, which is absolutely sick. There's another one in Adam tuberculosis. There's a bunch of these things that are out there. Clairvick's tuberculosis hospital, I believe. Where is this one at? LA, maybe?
That's a cool building.
Yeah, these they're all over the place, and people are. I asked the question, why are they so haunted? And people are saying because they were murdered, right?
Well, what does Gene think about that?
Gene, what do you think about it?
They do the SRA and all of that in those areas to open up, just like they were doing with Notre Dame. I talked about that on Linda's show. They do that to open up portals to bring demonics up. And you need all that pain and suffering and disease and misery. It helps open portals.
Oh, 100%. A lot of, you go into these places, right? You go into these old abandoned hospitals, old abandoned tuberculosis hospitals, and even abandoned mental hospitals. Not abandoned mental hospitals, but mental hospitals. They would actually eliminate or push these people into sanitariums to then make room for tuberculosis patients, because there were so many of them that they would actually combine. Think of how crazy this is, that you would actually have people who were schizophrenic, people who had psychosis in the next room beside people who had tuberculosis and dying. So then they all got it. Sick, my friends. Sick. And again, if you go into this, if you watch anything like this, any kind of just looking into these abandoned hospitals, a lot of them have satanic writing in them, just like Gene was saying, that they would actually use pain and suffering to actually bring in and out entities. Because there's so much pain and suffering, it would feed off of it. Much of the likes, how sick and sad is this? Just much of how like Podestas and Hillary and Uma and all these people in these death cult torture and punish and abuse children to actually then get adrenochrome and bring in and out entities. It's the same thing. This is a spiritual battle. Same thing.
I just wanted to bring up the point that they also, because we're talking about hospitals here where they're supposed to be curing people and helping people, but yet they seem to do these hideous, horrible things under the guises of helping people, curing people. It's like all the children's, like the Haiti Clinton Foundation and the Red Cross and all of these organizations are supposedly helping people, but they're really the cause of everything. They're really the exact opposite, the mirror opposite. So wouldn't it make sense that they use these hospitals for that very purpose? Because they're just like these children foundations. They're supposed to be there to help, right? But if you get certain hospitals under certain, control systems, then it would seem like the perfect thing to use. There's also the whole era in the 1920s and 30s when they had reform schools, and they had that place in Florida, the White House boys. And I forgot the name of it was a boys' school for wayward boys, but there's graveyards all over the place, and a lot of them escaped, but a lot of boys died in that school. And a lot of evil things happened in that school. And it was, there you go again, it's supposed to be there to help people. So I just wanted to point that out about the whole hospital thing, because, they could very well be using these hospitals in that way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it could just be a nerve center for these things to come in and out of. I mean, what is a hospital? It's where you're born. It's where you die. Right. Definitely an in and out. Gene, what do you think about that?
Yeah, the mental hospitals are used for necromancy primarily because the people are in a different mindset where they're actually going interdimensional. Somerset Belanoff, who's the top of the Paysure family and one of the only left surviving members of the Paysure, because the Alliance has taken out all these people now. Most of the Rothschilds and the Paysures are already dead because they don't surrender. They, like you saw with Baghdadi, they blow them, and Soros, they blow themselves up. So these mental hospitals, they use these insane people. She actually has a whole team of insane people that she uses to do necromancy with. And so the pain and the suffering, is one thing in the tuberculosis hospitals, but it's entirely a different thing they're doing with these mental hospitals, because they want to do necromancy and talk to these dead people that they try to create their new world order that way. Yeah. So by talking to dead people and getting them to go back into their body when they were alive and changing decisions they made to bring about their new world order.
That's heavy, man. That's deep. So they use, if you don't, that's having sex with a dead body, correct?
That's part of it, but they use these insane people who talk to dead people with satanic rituals that, they sacrifice people. They do a satanic ritual to bring up a dead person. And these insane people can see and talk to the dead person. They get that dead person to go back to when they're alive and make a different decision to see if they can change things so that the past is different, so that they can get their new world order, because they couldn't do it with Looking Glass anymore after 2012. No matter what they asked the thing, all they saw is their demise in 2045, that nothing they could do would change, that they would lose. They were like, why is it that nothing we can do, no matter what choice we make, what we do, the Great Awakening can't be stopped?
No. Do you think that they go in, or what are like with these, like, we could talk CERN. I really don't want to get into CERN. I really want to stay onto this subject of these hospitals and bringing in and out entities and so on and so forth. Are these entities able to leave? Are they able to go amongst themselves around, or are they contained within this building?
They have warding to contain it within the building, otherwise it would get out of control. And then often when you have a psychic or an insane person that brings up these people, they have them inside a certain sigil, it's called, and where they stand in the middle of a triangle that's in a circle, and then there's a pentagram that's in another circle around that. And so the demonic or the dead person comes up inside the pentagram. The person bringing them up is inside the triangle in a circle. The circles are in salt, and it's glued to the floor so that the dead person or the demonic can't get out by salt or something. And they have all of these sigils and incantations, ancient incantations from the Book of Solomon that they use. I sent Linda a whole file on all the sigils and incantations and tons of stuff that they use in these hospitals to do this stuff.
Okay, so Michael Ray brings me up to speed. Necrophilia is sex with the dead. Necromancy is communicating with the dead. Okay, so my bad on that. That's very interesting. Do you think that they could put these entities inside of, let's say, a criminally insane person, like as a conduit, and send it out into humanity, into the public?
They do it all the time. Yeah, they do sex with the dead person, try to get the body of the dead person, have sex with it so that they can, say, hey, like doorbell, hello, we need you to come over here. We got another body. This insane guy, he's not really here anyway. Go in his body and and in the meantime, that way we can constantly use you to go back into the past and make different decisions. But we can also get you to mess with people in the here and now. And so they get another chance, sort of, to be alive and up in a body. It's pretty disgusting.
No, it is. But I mean, that's what people are like, Thomas, this isn't, I mean, if you're new to Beyond the Headlines, this is what we get into. We get into the supernatural. We get into the conspiratorial side. Me and Linda made this up because it's a way to get away from the politics. We incorporate some of it in there, but this is what we want to do. We wanted it to be spooky. We wanted it to be really different and think about it, get into the supernatural, so on and so forth. So if you're not used to it, that's okay. This isn't True Reporting. This isn't McAllister TV. This is Beyond the Headlines. And if you're enjoying it, please uppercut that like button, because I know there's over 2,500 people watching and only 1,000 likes. So please show your love for me and Linda and Jean.
And Thomas, I would also describe it as a mind exercise or a brain exercise, where you're exercising your mind to open it and sort of allow yourself to imagine other possibilities. It's not that you have to say, oh yeah, I believe this 100%, but it's a chance to say, well, what if? Because we're going to have to say that pretty soon. And the what ifs are going to be way more than what we're talking about right here on Beyond the Headlines. And besides, look, here's the headlines. We're going beyond beyond the headlines. You hear it echoing? It's like way out over there beyond the headlines.
Exactly. It's a thing that we're starting to see. People are talking about it in the chat. They're talking amongst each other, talking about that they're pulling these kids out of these tunnels. Some of them have deformities. Some of them have never even seen the light of day before. And this is going to hit the public like a wrecking ball, like a ton of bricks. And people are going to say, what's going on down there? Like, why are they down there in these holes? And they were born down there. They were harvested down there. They were basically just killed. People were enslaved sex. They were enslaved sex victims. I'm sure that they have men and women down there that are, continuing on with having babies, so on and so forth, right? Reproducing down there just to be sacrificed. So there is a sick, deep, dark side to all of this that is going to hit the public like a pound of, like a wrecking ball, like I said before, and we're talking about it on here. We're ahead of the curve. So
and no matter what you believe right now, we're going to be shocked. We've already been warned, that what we think is nothing. We're just all, I think Q worded it and said, your life is photoshopped bullshit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's everything's a lie. Everything's a lie. The whole thing is a show. You are watching a show. And I was thinking the other day that these people wake up and they gleefully, I don't think they're people like Jean says, that they are entities, because they're having a blast playing their roles, playing this game with us. It's all a game so that they can come up here and wreak havoc and take over in some way, spiritually.
Yeah.
in every way.
I agree.
We have to kind of be able to expand our thinking. Well, that's another thing that Q says, expand your thinking. So that's what we're doing here on Beyond the Headlines.
Exactly. Gene, what do you think because what everyone thinks in the chat, what everybody's thinking in the chat is, once I believe wholeheartedly we've cut off that supply of adrenochrome. I think that they've had synthetic adrenochrome in some way, shape, or form. It's either been cut off or it's been tainted. What happens to these people? I mean, are they the conduit of a demon at this point, or are they themselves?
Once they've sold their soul like that, like these Hollywood stars, when they want more wealth, more power, more money, more notoriety, more fame, it's really pathetic, because I'm surprised they haven't started talking to the new people. They're not allowed to, because they're threatened that if they tell anybody. But these stars are all cloned. And so there's a video you can watch with the black guy that used to do the Family Feud. I can't remember his name right now, but he was in a limo with 3 other black guys who were pretty famous, talking about, so I'm probably a clone, but I'm going to live it up with my wife, or my clone's wife, or whatever, and enjoy the money. And maybe my original, I'm gonna just live like I'm the original. I doubt I am the original, but I hope so, but I'm probably not. So they cloned all of them, and they have dumps with all these people living in cages, and they think they're gonna sell their soul and get all this wealth and all this stuff, and all they get to do is live in a cage, and their clone gets to enjoy it all. It's pathetic.
Wow. Sickening. A couple more super chats, because there's questions in these as well. The Kathy, again, thank you so much. She says, going to be up to us to take care of the people coming out. 100% I agree. Both coming out of getting readjusted to the world, if they ever can get readjusted to the world. They're basically feral people. Kevin Danos, thank you so much, says amen. Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin, again for the super chat. Lisa R, thank you, Lisa. She says another YouTuber had someone on saying that industries that make elevators were peaking in the 80s, and no one could understand why that industry was booming. DUMBS, DUMBS. So elevators down to the bottom into these skiffs, into these deep underground military bases. And a lot of people think they're like, hey, what do you mean there's stuff down there? Like, what do you mean tunnels? Like, no, they're not going down there with like a drilling thing and making tunnels. It's just like up here. It's like 4-lane highways. There's buildings under there. There's, lightning fast train railroads under there. It's very, very sophisticated, and there's a world under us, guys, that's, I think, very sick and disturbing.
Yeah,
absolutely. You want to add to that, Linda?
Well, just like a Caligula kind of thing going on down there. Think about it. They've got all these levels, and it goes miles down. There is absolutely no way you can get down there. It's like clearance. There is no way you're going to get down there. You've seen what these people do up here. What the hell are they going to be doing down there where nobody can see them? And I've heard there's arenas. They've got little kids doing gladiator fights with each other, and little kids fighting grown-ups. It's just disgusting. What the stories that are coming out. And that's why I have said from day one, if even a fraction of this stuff is true, we need to bust down there right now and find out and pull these people out of here. All these people from parks that are disappearing. And I also I thought about this when you were talking about the military doing these things without people knowing, experimenting on them and this and that, and all the systems they have in place. And I noticed every single time these people disappear and they're never seen again, the weather is bad, right afterwards. So it's like they're total manipulation, from these people anywhere, everywhere they can. And so, hospitals being used to their benefit, everything being built on ley lines, churches being used for human sacrifice. I mean, the whole thing is completely out of control. So of course down there where they can't be seen, it's going to be the worst.
Yeah, and it's a very deep.
Could I clarify something with Gene
Sure.
real quick? Gene.
Yes.
Did you say that once they go to Hollywood, the clone gets to go out and be out and do all the acting and all that stuff?
Yeah, because what we saw with Michael Jackson is why he caught on fire in that commercial, that soda commercial, and died. And they kept pumping out clones, but the clones kept falling apart because of quantum entanglement. They didn't realize. They used to have the originals up until then with clone backups. They thought the backups, in case they lose the original, they have backups, but it doesn't work because quantum entanglement. So the clones, his nose kept falling off. He getting all pigment is leaving his body because he died in a fire. The clones suffer the fate through quantum entanglement of the original. So the one in the cage, the original, gets some, sense of what the clones are doing due to quantum entanglement. It's not that much of a thing they get, but it's just clones we're seeing. We're not seeing Tom Hanks, and we're not seeing Madonna, and we're not seeing Lady Gaga. We're seeing clones.
They don't look like the people. They don't even act like the people. I see Snoop Dogg, and I remember a time Snoop Dogg was just an easygoing kind of guy, like I don't even remember when he turned into this demon. But this is true with most of these people, like Robert De Niro and all of them. It's like they morphed into something.
Did you just say Robert De Niro?
Yeah.
That's really good. I like that.
I'm gonna use that. That's a good one.
That's hilarious.
But you don't. Where are the original people? It's almost like I can believe that.
Well, where are they? Well, I'm asking, where are the originals? Down below?
They're in cages. They don't get to enjoy anything because the clone is out doing it. And Gene, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but really that means there's two things walking around kind of in a daze.
Yep.
Neither one has full capacity.
Yeah, exactly. When you clone, a clone doesn't have a soul. The soul is what tells you different right and wrong, feels compassion, feels when somebody's suffering. You see somebody doing something horrific, like when I did the frazzle drip description on your interview, Linda, I had to take a break because I started getting sick to my stomach because
let me just take this opportunity really quick to mention this. I'm going to put the frazzle drip thing up. It's very, very disturbing, and I want to make sure that I cover it with a graphic so that if you guys get too upset, you can fast forward through it. But I want to spend some time on it, and tomorrow I have a day off, and then I'm probably going to be working on it, and it'll be up Sunday. But I want to warn people about it. It is very disturbing. Go ahead and tell them what.
Yeah, so when I start describing this, because of my the abilities I'm given, when I returned after I died for half an hour, God upgraded me massively. He gave me the chance to return. And when I start talking, I literally instantly start being there in my soul body, which is the clean type of remote viewing. And you don't remote view through your astral body because you can be taken over that way and by demonics. If you're doing but I'm viewing it in my soul body, so I'm feeling it literally from my soul, the pain and the horrific nature of what's being done to this poor girl. And I went so I had to take a break and get some water and do some breathing because it's so horrific. I can't. I've been in the military. I went in during I've seen bodies in a ditch that are rotting for a week and smell beyond comprehension. Even it's way worse than that. So it's like Linda said, watch out because only do this. But I did it because we need to know.
Yeah.
I'm the person that tear the Band-Aid off. I'm going to know it all.
Also,
like you were talking about, Thomas, when we start waking up to this stuff, and people need to know because it's conspiracy theory. When I first met Rick, and later after talking to him many times, he's like, wow, I thought I was red pilled. I'm blue pilled with a sliver of red through me. Is there anything at all that's a conspiracy theory? I mean, everything I ever heard was a theory. you've proven true. And the same thing goes with the Somerset Belanoff stuff. The lady that contacted me as Ultra, she actually stated that she's met this lady, and her words are that this wicked female blood drinking cannibal. So she's actually met this person in this monster. These people are monsters.
So, I mean, at this point, I mean, in all honesty, I'm not arrogant at all. I'm just saying that at this point, and I say this all the time, nothing would surprise me. Nothing at this point. Like, I can only imagine what these people are capable of. I mean, the fact that they've enslaved us for so long, and then they poison us, and they do all these things. You know, I've seen pictures and stuff like that. I understand it, but for a lot of people out there, and I mean the majority, it is going to be insane to witness this. It's going to black pill a lot of people. It's going to be really bad, and it's coming, guys. It's coming, so, you know, get right with God. You know, strap up your boots. You better get ready for it if you're not ready now, and you think that that's just hearsay, or, you know, that I'm not fully subscribing to that theory. Well, it's gonna happen. We're already seeing glimpses and pieces of it with these kids coming out of the tunnels on USNS Mercy. There's pictures already coming out that I've seen that are absolutely heartbreaking. But I want to get into some more super chats because I don't want to leave anybody out. Eric Fogg, Linda looking hot tonight, he says. You guys rock. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. And John Howe, back at it again. He says, Gene, you were right. Went out, came in now. Now is real clear. There you go. You helped John out. So he was talking about the clarity of the video. Just go in, come back out. There you go. Mohawk Girl, thank you so much for the super chat. Hi, Thomas. Missed you, Linda. Thomas, did you see the Marine Corps video I sent you on Twitter with the date for April 2020? Do you think it is real? Yikes. Yes, I do. I do believe it is real. Anything the Marines release is definitely real. AM Swanson, thank you so much, Am. He says, Global Fund AIDS, Tuberculosis, Malaria Foundation equals Bill Gates. Sick person. And you look at this doctor on all these pressers, this Dr. Burke, was a right-hand man or whatever, right-hand woman next to Bill Gates. Sick stuff. There's pictures.
You got that right the first time.
There you go. Vicky Richardson, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate that. We'll continue forward. John Howe. Wow, John's killing it. Thank you, John. He says, my job in New Jersey put me in Greystone Psyche Hospital throughout the tunnels and including the morgue. The place was closed in 1980, but every time I went there, my hair always stood up on end. Yeah. That's crazy, John. That's crazy. I've been inside. There's one in Columbia, South Carolina. It's on Bull Street. It's condemned. Homeless people were living in it. It literally looked like somebody went in there. It was open, and then the next day, everybody was gone. There's papers. You can read documents. Just documents all over the ground. There's gurneys everywhere. It looked like you blinked your eyes and everybody just vanished. Very, very haunted, by the way. It's in Columbia, South Carolina. Check it out. Bull Street. Massive building. Megan H. Thank you, Megan. She says, I think they completely stopped letting the kids out. I asked what you meant by that in the chat because I don't understand what do you mean they stopped letting them out because the military is in full command right here. I don't think that they would stop this operation when it's...
They can't.
No, I mean, what's going to stop it? And P.S., I don't know if anyone's been seeing this. I mean, I've been doing research today too, but there are actually people filming themselves, throwing baseballs with their son or cutting the grass in California, hearing underground explosions. Something is going on in California I guess it's Mercy. I don't know which one's in California, but if you look at the trend on the map, you have New York, New Jersey peaking, and then you have all 47 other states that are right there very, very low. Why is this massive military ship sitting right on the outskirts of California if there's no outbreak? And there's deep underground explosions going on? Look them up, guys. They're all over Twitter right now. Melissa Charba, that's a new name, I believe. Melissa says, do you mean our entire lives have been a lie? Like we are living in the Truman Show? Seriously? Love you guys. Go ahead, Linda.
No, that's what I think.
I believe that as well. What do you think, Gene?
What I think.
Absolutely. I mean, originally when I read Fell back in 90, every time I used to get my head blown off about once every 3 or 4 days in my research, like, you got to be kidding me. And it continued for a while, but literally everything I thought, almost everything I ever thought was ridiculous or insane, and all these ancient things that I'd heard are myths or legend all proved to be true. Things like Atlantis and Lemuria and all that. I'm just like, wow. So there's nothing. I mean, we've been so lied to. Literally, even the laws of physics, everything they teach you in school. And if you look up what the word school means in Yiddish, that's an interesting research there too. So it's a complete mind control factory is all our school system is. And there is just, I mean, we're living in a matrix that's totally fake.
Unbelievable.
I'll give you one example. North is south and gravity is a push, not a pull.
That's what Q tells us. What's up is down, what's left is right. And we're all indoctrinated into it. So it's not like you have a chance unless you do your own research. So absolutely, Gina, I completely agree. Greg A. Steele, thank you so much for the great super chat 2020. I love it, baby. Cynthia H., I don't know if I did not see this. I don't know if you're talking about the noises, the explosions, but she says, I'm a prophetic painter and seer. I could hear them. What do you mean by that, Cynthia H.? I need to know. Were you talking about the explosions? Because that was 10 minutes ago, and I just brought that up. That's really strange. The Groove, thank you so much, says, great show, Thomas. Thank you. It's our show, their Groove, but I appreciate it. Tammy Eaton, thank you so much, Tammy. She says, our weapons are not of this world. 2 Corinthians 10:4. Our weapons are not of this world. You mean angels? Could be that. Maggie Sally, or Sal, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, this is for Robert DeZero comment. That was one of the greatest things I've ever heard, in all honesty. Cynthia H., thank you so much, Cynthia H. She says, I'm a laid off healthcare worker ready to rescue. She's talking about the kids, Cynthia. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Thank you, Cynthia. Very sweet of you. And I know if you're a laid off healthcare worker, you'll be doing God's work. Art by LJ. Thank you, Art. It says, I don't think they're not going to tell that much. Who could take it? Do you see Hillary's tweet on the dragon? I did not see that. I don't know what you mean by that. And from Jake, Gene, when will the Antichrist come on earth, and will we be with God and Jesus on a new heaven on earth? That's a big question.
That's a huge, it has to do with the 2 timelines I was talking about. They've known forever that we create, those with souls are the only ones that are given souls by God, that are the only ones capable of creating through thought. So they don't, because they don't have that. They have used our ability to create through thought by farming our thought. That's why they make the Matrix and all what we were just talking about a minute ago. They want to create a new world order in which they have absolute power, and we're just a crop. And so their creation, they do through fear, terror, order ad chaos, from chaos comes order and control. That's why they create that. They're doing that so that they can create their timeline. Their timeline ends in 2045 after what's called the event. Our timeline has no end, the Great Awakening. But what timeline you go to depends on your thought, your feelings, your emotions, your choices. Do you serve yourself? Then you serve them. Then you go to their timeline. They will farm your thought, and that thought, you will go to what you resonate with, to the timeline that you resonate with, because God is infinite and every choice that can be made is allowed. So that has to be allowed on a timeline, at least, that comes into creation. The other timeline exists simultaneously nearby, and that's a different timeline with a different resonance structure, what's called a quantum signature, so that when you resonate in service to others with kindness, compassion, and respect, and you operate that way, and you clean the way you think up and act and feel and do and talk, That's why I'm very careful. I've been spending years trying to clean that up. You go to a timeline that resonates like that. In other words, where Christ returns and we see the true King come back and we have a true heaven on earth, like you're saying, Thomas. But if you're going to resonate being selfish and driving like a maniac and cutting in and out and cutting people off and totally disrespectful and in the store and putting your cart purposely in front of people so they can't get around or cutting in front of them and being totally me, you're going to go to their timeline. Their timeline ends because Source is done with this false darkness, is so out of balance and so selfish beyond comprehension. So it's not going to be allowed past that, but it is allowed to that. That's where the Antichrist comes in on that timeline. It comes from here, from this point. So you can experience that or you don't have to experience that. They actually, as I did on Linda's show about Notre Dame, we're currently on a timeline now since the burning of Notre Dame. If you experience the burning of Notre Dame, to go to that timeline, that will erase from your past. It's called the Mandela effect. What happens and things change because of your choices on the timeline you're on. That's why some people remember things that are, the timeline's different. Like if you have seen the thing with the Wicked Witch and she goes to the mirror, look at what she says. It's different now. It's totally different than most people remember. So if you go to a positive timeline, which after the event it goes to just those two, then you go to a timeline where the Antichrist doesn't arise. So you have to look at the total of all creation to say, does the Antichrist arise on my timeline? Not necessarily. It does arise, yes, in the infinitude of God's creation. Yes, that's absolute. But not necessarily on your timeline, not on my timeline. I'm going to one where everybody's kind, considerate, and respectful, and all these wars and all that stuff aren't going to ever be happening anymore. All this terrible, crazy stuff that people are doing.
So we're placed here for a reason.
Yeah, we're co-creators. We're created in the image of God. What can God do? Create. So
for this specific time, because our lifespan is 75 years if we're lucky, right? It's a blip if you're thinking of time, which I don't believe in time, but we're all placed here for a reason, to witness this, correct? To witness the awakening.
Correct. And we're at the time, we are in the end time. All the signs have already happened. I have tons of videos of the end times where it rained fish out in Carolinas, and they had to come and hose the fish off. There's locust swarms in China. There's locust swarms in hail that caught on fire in Saudi Arabia when it hit the ground. Rivers and streams running with blood. Everything that we saw during the time of Moses is occurring again. All of the end signs, everything, locusts, plagues, the pale horse is out of the stall.
Fires. I mean, even though that it was man-made, Australia was almost the entire continent was on fire. So we've seen, the last thing we haven't seen is floods.
Another thing that is happening is, remember when there were those hurricanes or whatever, and then the water disappeared and people went out, and where there was a shoreline and everything, there was like no water. It was like the parting of the seas, where the sea actually did part and there was no water there, and the water disappeared. Do you remember that?
That's crazy.
It happened in several different spots where the water disappeared. The water was there, and then after the hurricane, there was nothing but the bottom of the sea was there for like a mile outside or something. I'll have to look it up because it freaked me out when I saw it.
Yeah,
that sounds freaking crazy.
You know about that, Gene?
Yeah, I actually saw the whole beach disappear after a hurricane in St. Croix when I used to run the base down there. Thomas, we have had the flood. Remember the hurricane in Houston? Flooded all of Houston?
Yeah, it came in and went back out, came in, went back out. That hurricane?
Yeah. And Houston had more rain in that time frame than it's had in 150 years. The whole place was flooded.
Here.
I want to do a couple super chats real quick. Matt Sandoval says the Hope Native Americans had a story about two timelines. Matt, that's crazy. I believe in two timelines, actually. Shannon Lee, and by the way, Matt, thank you for that super chat, my friend. Thank you so much. Shannon Lee, thank you for the super chat, says, have you seen Q Darkness misspelled Darnkess? There is a book, 3 Days of Darnkess by Glenn Aiken. I have not seen that. I did not know that he was misspellings. I know misspells have purpose, but sometimes when they're on the move, they also do misspell. So was there like, hey, this was a mistake, or I know Anons questioned that if they saw it. Just let us know in the chat. Susan Robertson knows what you're talking about, Linda, with the parting of the sea. They said that was in Florida, Linda.
Oh, okay. I thought there was one like in the Cayman Islands or someplace around the islands, maybe around Haiti or something.
Wow. This was I'm going to definitely look this up to bring us back. Mist Dragon says, allegedly the Vatican has papers on necromancy. What do you think about that, Gene?
They have the Book of Solomon, which goes into how to do necromancy and everything. Under the Vatican is a map, which is being gone through by the Alliance right now, because they've taken out the Vatican. They've arrested 80 priests along with the Pope, and a massive amount of them have died from the 217 already. And so the Book of Solomon has all these sigils and things that I sent to Linda, and all these incantations that they do, and the necromancy that they do and teach. They learn that from a very young age. Like Somerset learned it. By the time she was 13, she was already a high witch.
Wow. So
now is it a she?
For Somerset, it actually is. The upper chambers, as they're called, look at the Rothschilds and those as like they look at us as a bunch of sheep and tools to be used. They're trash. They said when we're done, we'll just harvest them too. The Hopi prophecy is totally exactly. It's two different, and that prophecy is also being, all the signs of that have been shown to have come about already. In regards to your thing about the earthquakes and compared to whether they're real or taken out dumps, look at the wave structure and compare natural earthquakes and their P wave structure, and you'll see there's a difference in their P waves. And Thomas, for your guy look at lessons learned from Italy, your friend that's sick with the virus, I had it. I'm over it in 2 days. I got over it in 2 days. So if you take melatonin, you won't get it. This is lessons learned from Italy. You can get that online. And then if you take vitamin C, 2 pills every 20 minutes until you get diarrhea, and saturate yourself with vitamin C, it gets rid of the virus, and it's quick. I'd rather have diarrhea than have this thing, especially since I'm in my mid 60s. Mm-hmm. I'm in a high risk factor, so you can get rid of it real easy. Tell that to your friend. And if you want, there's some other ways to get rid of it even faster, which is what I actually used. I won't put it out here, but if you want, Thomas, just ask me and I'll send the information to you.
Thank you, Gene. That's very nice of you. I mean, this is just a question of my own. Real quick, guys, I just want to say, if you're enjoying this, if you're Beyond the Headlines is back, baby. Like, we've been gone for 2 weeks. Please show your appreciation by subscribing to both our channels, McAllister TV and True Reporting. Please share this stream. Hit the like button. Don't be that guy or girl not to do that. P.S. There's only 2 genders. Please just hit the like button. That's all I ask. And if you want a super chat or go to the PayPal, Patreon, me and Linda both have that. It really does help support us. So please do that. I would greatly appreciate it. Gene, I wanted to ask you about, now that their supply of this adrenochrome is cut off, where does this spirit cooking come into place now? Because I understand that doesn't have a lot to do with adrenochrome, but it does. Are they still contacting these entities? Are they still trying? Because they're, in all honesty, people are like, oh, we've won. In the long shot, we have won. But this deep state is not going to go down without swinging.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the spirit cooking ties directly into the adrenochrome. What they're cooking up has already been terrified to death. So it's to harvest the adrenochrome. And they do this the frazzle drip that I described. So they do it in the live. The person has no type of anesthesia. Then they cook them up, and that's what the spirit cooking is, to get that adrenaline in the meat. That's why they terrify even animals, so that the animal has the meat. They say the meat is sweeter, and that's why the Native Americans and the people that are really following the Great Spirit and the Son of the Spirit know to kill the animal painlessly and instantly as possible, because that adrenochrome is very addictive. If you get, so you're eating that for nothing but that every day for a year or two, you quit that and you're a heroin addict going through withdrawals, and the likelihood you're going to die from adrenochrome withdrawals is 100%. You can see with what, like Johnny Depp was getting all, and Celine Dion, they look like a bag of bones, worse than somebody coming out of a concentration camp that has leather strewn over the bone, and then their hair's falling out, and they look like worse than death warmed over. I mean, it's beyond belief. So that's why they're asking for blood donations. Why do you think they're pumping fear through the media? They want the adrenaline in our blood. Give them some of our blood. They have those are the blue pills that are all scared from all this. It's one of the reasons they pumped it up, because the rat lines are cut so massively now. The dumbs are being taken out. That's their last thing. Trump and the alliance is already cutting off the stuff from China, from Saudi Arabia, from Haiti. They blew up the dumb tunnel in Cayman Islands where they took all the kids from Haiti, through Dominican Republic, from Puerto Rico. They're continually taking out the dumb now. They've been doing it. It's so massive, the one off of Guanica and Paraguay in Puerto Rico, where the dumb is. They're taking that up. They're pulling kids out of there. They're pulling kids out of Haiti. They're pulling kids out of Dominican Republic. They're pulling kids out of Belize, all bringing it up into this country. All of that's been shut down. Plus the coyotes and the wall and all of that's shut down now. All of their stuff worldwide is so curtailed that the only thing they have is this synthetic adrenochrome coming from the lab in Wuhan and P4 lab. And that stuff is synthetic. It's nowhere near as powerful as the natural stuff. That's why they need our blood. They pumped up the fear so we'd have adrenochrome in their blood. Please donate your blood. We need it. We're dying.
That's amazing, man.
Gene, and you said, okay, so let me get this straight. The bootleg adrenochrome, the tainted adrenochrome is from clones, synthetic adrenochrome from clones, right?
Right. The chemical itself is not synthetic. The person they got it from is synthetic. Right. Again, that doesn't have a soul. So that means that the terror and fear levels are nowhere near what they'd be with a real person, like the kids they have down there. The adrenochrome there is powerful. This stuff, all that it'll do is kind of sort of keep them alive, but they start looking like you see Ellen or Alan. They look like an old person.
Are these clones taking clone adrenochrome?
Yes.
Wow.
Because again, the clone is quantumly entangled to the original.
Right.
Here's a good question. I want to make it quick though, because I want to bring in callers. This is from Kendra Porter. Gene, can you talk about Rh negative versus the positive with targeting?
That's a book.
Right, that's what I figured.
Contact me at my Gmail and we can arrange a phone call. That's a 800-page book answer. We don't have the time or the place.
There you go.
I want to mention one more book on all of this killing people with things like tuberculosis, like you were saying, Thomas. Mm-hmm. Get the book A Higher Form of Killing. Where like they made Agent Orange into, which is just DDT. It's a higher form of killing, where they sprayed the Legionnaire's disease. There's 900, think of this number, 911 cases in that book of using germ warfare on the American people, like on the Native Americans that they're doing back in, like the Tuskegee Airmen that you mentioned, Thomas. This is a long time. They've been doing this for a long time.
And even Albert Pike, in the Battle of Pea Ridge, he was experimenting with the Indians, giving them gunpowder, alcohol, whiskey mixed with gunpowder. And in that battle, the Native Americans went crazy, and they went violent. They started scalping people. It was a really horrendous battle. And they always look at and hold Albert Pike up so high. And here he is chemically experimenting on Native Americans during the Civil War. Not only that, he fed them propaganda before saying that the Northerners were going to come down and massacre them. So the Indians. So, propaganda first, then he feeds them gunpowder and whiskey. And it was a horrible, horrible thing that happened as a result of that. But anyway, they've been, I think, always doing this.
Oh, for sure. We have some super chats coming in with questions. Glassman Jack says, keep it up. Thank you, Glassman. I appreciate that. Georgie Foley. What's up, Georgie? He says, do you think George and Amal Clooney are in this cult in Hollywood? What about the stars we love, like Jen Aniston and Julia Roberts? They're all, Georgie, yes.
You just mentioned one of the top warlocks and two of the top witches on Earth. Go look at the Kirsten show I did about witches and warlocks. I gave you a list. You just put a couple of them up that are on the list, and look at the arrest warrants and the arrests in L.A.
Yes, absolutely. Doran DeLorean, thank you so much. Duran DeLorean says, I got a question for Gene. How many types of reptilians are there, i.e. the 3 types of vril, alpha, draconians?
There's an endless amount, but on Earth, because God's creation is endless, what's out there. But on Earth, primarily, you got about 5 kinds. So you have the vril, the alpha draconians. You have the Zoroastrians, which is what the alpha draconians is supposed to be, but they're on the side of light, and they're supposed to be the historians for the universe. You have them. They're primarily just keep the history. The alpha draconians are, of course, turned into an abomination. And so you have those, and then you have some hybrids of them, and then there's 2 others that just here to observe.
Wow. Gotcha. That makes sense to me. I'm going to take some calls real quick. Do you want to add anything to that, Linda?
Because we had a good conversation about the lizards.
No. Yeah. Oh, y'all did. Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick, the guy from Tasmania, Paul, there's a dump in Tasmania. The virus was to bring down our economy. It got out accidentally through a guy trying to sell the vial from the P4 lab in that market where he got shot in the chest because the handoff went sour and he fell and the vial broke. So that it was supposed to bring down our economy, not theirs.
Wow. Sick people. Let's go ahead and take some calls real quick. Again, if you got a question for Gene, this guy's he's an information machine. We got Linda here too, who can ask you, tell you anything you need to know. So let's go ahead with it, guys, real quick. Again, mute your stream before you call in, and just a question. Just have a question that we can move along, because a lot of people will call in. Okay, so let's be aware of others. Okay, right? Let's go. All right. 3938, welcome to the show.
Hi, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. Who is this?
It's Michelle from New York.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, how are you?
All righty. Hello, Linda. Hello, Gene.
Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, it's scary times out here. Yeah, it's real. Believe me, it's real. A lot of people I know are very sick.
Mm-hmm.
Very sick. But my question to Gene, great show, by the way, is these lizards, the Dracos, do they clone themselves, or do they partake in this adrenochrome rush, or do they feast on the blood, or what's their deal in this?
Great question.
Yeah, go ahead, Thomas. Go first. Sorry.
No, Gene, go. I wanted y'all to answer. I want y'all to talk about it.
Okay.
Do they clone themselves too?
No, they genetically manipulate themselves and hybrid themselves. The whites are the elites. There's only 73 left of those shapeshifters left. The Alliance is hunting them down and taking them all out. There's a lot of the lower level, the greens and the golds and the brownish golds and spotty things. There's a bunch of them still left, but they partake of the adrenochrome. For them, it's even a greater high than it would be for a person like if these Hollywood stars and things do.
Wow. My other question is, how long do they live, and how do you take them out?
Most of them are a higher density D4s and D5s, and so the high ones are D5s. So the Alliance has tech that was given to them by the Arcturians. That's why when they take out some of the dumps, like down in southern Colorado, when they took out Grand Mesa, and everybody said there's a bunch of drones flying all over, there's nukes that are loose. they can find a nuke with a satellite from space in a tenth of a second. Those are looking for nukes. The little black bubbles you see on the front of the drone are neutrino detectors. They can see through the holograms and see if they're shapeshifters, or if they're in stealth. They have personal stealth units and they're invisible. They can see them, and they have, like you saw in the movie Jumper, they have electric nets that they catch them with. And then they are then taken to trial for crimes against humanity by the Council of Five, the Andromedan Council. They're taken out of our galaxy and given trial for crimes. The trials are ongoing now. And our
another quick question. I don't mean to take up your time. We as people that have souls and light, do we have any kind of thing against them? Like, say we were ever approached by one, what could we do to protect ourselves?
Call upon, do an invocation, a Christ invocation. If you don't have that, contact me and I'll send it to you.
Wow.
Okay.
Michelle.
Thank you so much for all your information. Tom, it's so good to hear from you. Listen, all you guys stay safe, and thanks for what you do for everybody. I appreciate it. And everybody, like and hit that share button and donate.
There you go. Michelle, you're so kind. I love Michelle more. She's amazing. I love Michelle. All right, bye-bye, sweetie. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Dude, Michelle, been with us for a long time. Big-time donator behind the scenes, too. Sent me one of the sweetest gifts I've ever received from any human being on this planet. Michelle, you know I love you. I love you, Michelle. 3066, welcome to the show. What's your question? 3066, are you there?
Hello?
Hey, who's this?
Oh, just me from New York. Can you hear me?
Oh, just me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. Just me. What's going on?
Oh, great. I love you guys. Great show. I've tried so many times to get through.
Well,
Jean is awesome. I'm learning so much and sharing a lot.
Good.
A lot of my friends on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
What one thing could any one of you say to help me get them off the fence in just a clear and precise way?
I have mine. I have my go-to. My go-to is, why don't you show them all the indictments, and then tell them all you have to do is go to Pacer, PACER.gov, and say, why is the news not covering this? This is not a conspiracy. This is actually a government site. Why is the media not covering this? There are 150,000. Majority of the time, actually all the time, year to year, is about 1.8 thousand. That's a big red pill for a lot of people.
Okay, that's great. Linda?
What I usually say is, honestly, when I got in conversations with people, my friends and people like that, my big question to them was, well, it wasn't even a question, it was a statement. I would say, I don't understand how you can't see that this is a military operation.
Mm-hmm.
I even said that during the election. I said, it's a military operation. This is not an election. I don't understand how you can't see that. And then if they want to know why, I go ahead and tell them, like, can't you see that, I have tried. I've directed them to you guys, different sites, tried to explain it was a military op, different things. And I've lost friends, and it's even family. And it's hard, and praying every day, praying for the children. I'm just curious as to what your approach was, because the first thing that goes through my mind in certain events is, oh, libtard, oh, this one, and I try not to do that.
Yeah, you can't attack, and you got to go at them easy. Another thing that you could go at them with is Harvey Weinstein and Epstein, and just show them the connection with these people.
Yes, I did do that. Okay. And last but not least, Jean, if you have a suggestion, I would love to hear it. And then I'm going to let you guys go. I know you got a lot of calls.
Yeah, so what Rick does on Blessed to Teach is always Operation Mockingbird, but I would advise you research as many topics as possible, because what I do is I do just a small amount. Don't overwhelm a person. I used to blow people's doors off and talk for 18 hours when I'm red pilling, and the people's eyes would be rolling. Only one guy ever come back 12 years later. He goes, okay, I'm ready for more after what you told me for 18 hours straight.
Wow.
So use something small, and literally see, bond with the person first, get to be a little bit friendly with them. And then, like, I'm in the health food store, and people that
Right.
are there, and I'll go into distilled water, or I'll go into vitamin C, or the person's wearing a mask. I'll tell them about melatonin. If they're saying, wow, how come 1 million people reservists called up for a virus? I go, exactly. And why are they going into Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado and digging in?
Yeah.
Right? So like Q, use the
Yeah.
Socratic method, ask questions, and let them think.
I've actually, I do paint and draw, and I've done some Q artwork, and I kind of slip it in when I show people, and they're like, oh, what's that? So I tried to break the ice in that way. It's just a little window, and I can bring up the conversation as best I can.
Before I let you go.
One quick question.
Yeah.
I'm near the airport in New York, and is there anything for us to worry about with the air quality or what's going on?
Oh, I wouldn't necessarily worry about that right now. I mean, New York's air quality is what it is. It's probably not the greatest. I wanted to say something. Since you're an artist, why don't you show them Podesta art?
I'm doing artwork contrary to his artwork because I cannot get those images out of my mind.
To wake them up, though. To wake them up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because Google's open. Google's wide open right now. So you can, I mean, I went into that on a podcast for like 2 hours one day. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good suggestion. Yes. All right, thank you. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right, we'll see you. Thank you. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Let's take another call.
Hey.
Where'd you go?
I'm here.
Yeah, 1009. What's up?
Hey, this is David. How you doing, Thomas?
Hi, David. How are you?
This is amazing. I'm scuba duba, so Linda sees my crazy comments, but they don't show them to the public because I get like no thumbs up. And I did stand-up comedy, so I know some of it had to give some people some chuckles and nothing. Sure. But what I wanted to ask Gene was, are any of the leaders, is it possible Trump is a clone?
Most of the ones you see, the different ties, kind of the code for which one you're seeing, because has to be protected. The White Hats use him to keep people safe. He actually did die when he went to Walter Reed, but that was a clone. The originals kept very, very safe in a very, very safe location with absolute protection and very rarely comes out. He did go to the Dallas rally because he said, I'm going to undo this stuff with Kennedy. I'm going to show that I'm not, like Thomas was saying earlier, some, coward. But he's usually kept safe. So normally the one that's out running around and doing stuff is a clone just for safety.
Whoa. Another question. So when I was watching a video, and it was actually on like Fox, and it was coming out of Washington, out of the White House. And the thing I found fascinating is, how the images change, they distort, but the background doesn't. It's almost like they say that those are reptilians or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the person gets very distorted, like their nose is on their chin, and they'll have like a black eye and just really bizarre looking for like a couple seconds.
It's like a glitch.
Yeah, like a digital looking glitch, but nothing else gets glitched.
Right. Yeah, my man. Great question. I'm gonna go on to the next caller. But thank you so much for the call, and this is a great topic to get into. Thanks, dude. Go for it. Either one of you. I know what he's talking about with these glitches.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about too, but Gene probably has a better answer.
Yeah, that's called digitization due to hologram, which is an energy field. It affects the camera sometimes, especially when the hologramming creature is getting excited. The energy goes up and it starts digitizing the camera. And so you'll see like the best example I've seen is Chelsea. You could see her eyes. She was being interviewed on a news channel, and her eyes went slit, and you could see all the scales and the ridge crest going up the middle of her forehead, starting to digitize out and becoming the shapeshifter was wearing off the hologram, and you could see her for what she really is. So that's what that is.
Gotcha. Let me do some super chats real quick. Tammy Cornett, thank you so much for the super chat. Says Madonna joins Gates Madonna joins Gates Foundation. Kung Flu 6-6 effort. Can you imagine that? I mean, people are saying, well, Bill Gates could be a good guy. No.
Yeah.
Look who's joined his team. Canberra Rivers, thank you so much for the super chat. Canberra says, Gene, tell us what you think about the Queen. What's her part? Great question.
The Queen has actually been arrested. She got locked out of Buckingham Palace. It was too funny.
Yes.
They tried to get in. They go, hold there, we'll have help coming for you. And they came and arrested her. So she's actually a Draco.
Is the entire family a Draco? Same bloodline?
Yeah, they're a mixture between Dracos and some other creatures. Some
Wow.
are more pure than others, pure Draco. The higher ups, like the Queen, are more pure. But they're
That's
all creatures
what,
of various mix.
That's what Princess Di said.
Right, Linda. That's right. Yeah.
And also, Arizona Wilder talked about the Queen, and David Icke asked her, I don't know if this was the David Icke interview actually, but somebody asked her, what did the Queen look like? And without dropping a beat, she just said, well, she's got speckles. And you said something, Gene, about the speckled reptilians. And that was the first thing I thought about was Arizona Wilder talking about the speckled. She was brown and had reddish speckles or something. Really bizarre, but she goes right into it. She doesn't miss a beat. She describes her reptilian shape.
Gracious be to God. Kevin Danos, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, I don't know what you mean by this. Oh, indictments, 160,000 plus as of this morning. Wow. You can't make it up. Something's going on. Lady Be Good, thank you so much for the super chat. Is there any recompense or cure for those of us whose lives have been stolen through chronic illness? I am ill, and my son was made paralyzed by the Illuminati disease I'm not sure it cuts it off at the end. It's very sad and sick. Is there a cure for those of us who have had their lives stolen from us from chronic illnesses? Is it coming out?
Are you asking me, Tom?
I'm just asking the group.
Okay. You want to take it or you want me, Linda?
Gene, I think that was for you.
Okay. So, yes, there's things for I know things for everything. If you contact me with your specific situation, I can help. Realize I'm not a licensed medical professional, but there are things that I'm aware of, so I can give you that information. It's how I got over the virus. I had it for only 2 days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely cures and technologies that will be coming out of the woodworks that have been just like this chloroquine. Hydrochloroquine has been around since the 50s, and all of a sudden it's a cure. Bet money it's the cure too.
I just wanted to mention something that Gene said to me. Gene, when we were talking about my hand, because I got my hand caught in a machine. It was like totally crushed. I almost had it amputated twice. And I was talking to Gene about it. And Gene, you did say to me that when the cures come out, that my hand was going to be okay, that it was going to be fixed.
Yeah, I know some things you can do right away, Linda. We can talk about that later. But
I
also,
think that's what she was talking about, like when all the cures start to come out, are there going to be any sick people left, or will there be cures?
Yeah, there was. But pharma, the big medicals going the way of the blacksmith did when the car came.
I like it. I got to get through these super chats because we only got 6 minutes left. Mohawk Girl, thank you so much, Mohawk Girl. She says, holy, this guy is saying what Paul Snyder said. Do you guys know who he is? Do you know who Paul Snyder is? I do not.
I know that name, Paul Snyder.
Yeah.
You mean Bill Snyder?
Bill Snyder?
Phil
Snyder.
Bill Snyder.
That may be what she means. The Mikado 16, thank you so much. Been telling people for years vampires and werewolves are real. Gene, you got sauce? Heard William Schnoblin say there are, but I do not 100% trust him.
Yeah, I had a student of mine who was Mark Ultra, and I have been helping him for years to get whole again. But we did a trip down from Colorado down through New Mexico, and I said he didn't believe it either, so I took him to a vampire nest. He was pretty believing after that. For half an hour we drove. He's just quiet, stared out the window. They really do exist. Like, he goes, is that what I saw was real? I go, if you don't believe it, we can go back. He goes, no, it's okay. And there's actually a place in the Appalachians in the Blue Mountains where there's a treaty from the Civil War that they're allowed to stay within that area. And if you come in there, you're fair game. And that's why a lot of people go missing there. Yeah, they really do exist. And Count Vlad, and you can look in and research that. Vlad the Impaler, which of course backwards is Dracula, and the Queen's husband talks about he's direct descendant of that.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. We all know that he would impale people's heads. He was definitely 100% a vampire. People are saying, why is there a time limit? Because it's a show. I mean, I will try to get each and everybody in as fast as I can, but I mean, this is the problem we always run into. It's just people love calling in. People love to be a part of this. True Reporting, people want to know, what is Gene's email? Are you willing to get that out, Gene?
Yes, I'll give it out, but please, I don't get jobs for people. I don't have a direct line to Trump. I'm a decoder in information. Primarily, I disseminate information. I decode stuff going on in the deep state. I do a little bit of field ops in the warmer months. I don't like the cold, so I do some spotting. Other than that, COLOSENSEI64 at Gmail. Realize I get 200 or 300 emails a day. I get through them eventually, but I have people literally from every place except for Antarctica contacting me. Even people I'm in orbit now, Gene. We can talk. So in the programs, as they call it.
Absolutely. We're gonna go. If you guys are game, I'll go 15 minutes over to get these calls in. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, I'm good for however long you want to go.
We'll go 15 minutes. We'll go to 10:15, and then we're gonna cut everybody loose. So 10:15, guys. Show your love, show your support. We're gonna go an extra 15 minutes on this show. So let's go ahead and do it real quick. So there's questions coming in with the super chat and calls. So Kim Castile, thank you so much, Kim. She says, hello, Big T and Linda and Gene. Loving this show as usual. Military Mom 17. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Mohawk Girl says, and thank you for the super chat, says, I know who I think is a good guy from Hollywood, Keanu Reeves. He looks like Jesus as well. Ha ha ha. Love you guys. Yeah, I mean, we've gone over this a couple times. I don't know the guy, but he could be a good dude. Let's go ahead and take another call real quick. I didn't mean to sound like that guy. What's his name? Edgar E. Robinson or something like that. Let's go here. Yo, Group C, what's up?
Hey, Thomas. Hey, Linda. How you doing?
Hey.
Doing good. Is this Aaron?
This is Aaron. You
hey.
Oh my gosh, so good to be back on Beyond the Headlines. It's like a breath of fresh air, like you would not believe.
Absolutely, man. What's up? Good to hear from you, Aaron.
Thank you. So, Gene, I brought to the attention of Tom and Linda a few Beyond the Headline episodes ago about the Great Solar Flash. Do you know much about the Great Solar Flash?
Completely. What would you like to know?
I just wanted to, I'm still reading up on it myself, so I wanted to hear from you what your take is on it, if you please.
The deep state calls it the event. They call the cause of it, NASA calls it the fluffy stuff. The Illuminati call the cause of it the Masonic ring, and it's due to an energy field that emanates from the sun inside the black hole at the center of the Milky Way called Alcyon. and a pressure wave of gravitational force from Andromeda on one side of the Milky Way and Sagittarius and the globular clusters on the other, so that every time a solar system rotates around the Milky Way, for each half rotation, it goes through that energy field of infrared curtain. It's very, very powerful, and so that it's highly charged, and suns actually work based on ley lines of energy in space that take the energy to the surface of the sun. As it gets closer, it condenses and hits plasma ignition, density, and temperature. So as the sun is going through that field, as it approaches it, it's essentially 3 days thick, but of course it tapers off, so the sun starts to get more and more active, increasing such that it causes global climate change on all of the planets. It's nothing to do with us here. It's all the planets. Mars doesn't have ice caps anymore for that reason. And so when you get into the hard field, it causes the corona of the sun to collapse, of your essential sun that you're in. Procyon has already gone through it. They've sent ships to witness that sun. I actually have pictures of our sun doing it, because the secret space program can do time travel. When you do space travel, it's essentially time travel. And so I have actual pictures of our sun doing it. So the sun's corona collapses to the core and then blows outwards. And when it wraps around a planet, it goes into the poles and comes out through every particle from the core of the planet and raises the energy field of all the particles into the next density. It's what is the Great Awakening. It's what's causing it. When the primary event occurs, the planet will literally shift densities. The planet's itself shifted, but all the beings on the planet must shift with it, or they'll be dustified.
Interesting.
There you go, Aaron.
Interested in this one because, I'll make it quick. Q talks about nothing can stop what's coming, dark to light, those sorts of things. I wonder if that ties into possibly the great solar flash. So
yes, it's what the Bible calls the book of Revelations. You have 3 days of darkness. Earth's destroyed by fire. Those that are in service are raptured up, that have found God in Christ and serve instead of being selfish. Those that aren't are dustified, or they go into their negative timeline till 2045 if they have the energy to go to D4 negative or D5 negative, but their timelines ends on the positive side. Then the AI can't exist there either, by the way. And then additionally, like if you look in the Zoroastrian, they call it the Phosphorite. All the religions have it in there, that all of them know about the CME, because it's a regular event that occurs and raises the planets up one density each time. In our case, we're going to 2. We're raising 2 because we've been dealing with 4th density for thousands of years because of the Draco and all that. The weapons they're using on us are 4th density stuff. So because we've already integrated all that information, we'll go from D3 to D5 if you're having the vibration and the genetic structure to do so. If not, the Alliance will take those that can't make the jump, that are decent people, to a 3rd density world, is what I've been told. They have ships. I know this, that there's ships for everybody up there. There's the whole sky. If you could see all the stuff that wasn't in stealth, the sky would be completely full. So there's enough for everybody up there that are decent. For those that are not on the negative side, if you're in service to the negative side, unless you're really, really something useful to them, they're just going to leave you to go to dust.
Wow. There you go, Aaron.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for your time. It's always a pleasure to be on the show with you, and I look forward to the next one.
Aaron, you have a good night, my friend.
Always
Thank you.
good to hear from you, Aaron.
Thank you. Have a good night.
We'll see you. Yeah, so I'm seeing in the chat there are more earthquakes in California right now. 5.9 and 4.8 earthquakes right now. Very strange. I have a question for Gene real quick, very fast. So when we say that we're going to go up in density, so there's like 3D, 4D, 5D, is there a negative 3D, 4D, 5D?
Yep. Negative can only go to 5D. They cannot go to 6. It has to do with the energy structure of the body and how they're in service to their side. If you're not in service to source, you can't activate the 7th energy system at the crown And so when you can't activate that, and if you're not in service and unified and in service to source and the sun, then you can't go past that level. You literally would reset yourself if you tried to third positive. So they only have the choice of going to 5. And after that, they literally can't go beyond that to where they go beyond physical form. At 5D, you're still somewhat physical. At 6D, you're mostly not, but once you go to 7th, you're completely like an angelic, where you're completely energy structured. They can't do that because they're fallen. They're disconnected from source and not in service to it. They're in service to themselves, and they're not aligned and accepting the compassion of in their heart of the Son of God, and so they can't do it. It's not possible.
Right. That makes complete sense. Claire, thank you so much for the super chat. Claire Paseric says, thank you all. Thank you, Claire. And Bella says $15 for a 15 great show. Thomas, Linda, and Gene, thanks to great moderators. I won't sleep tonight. Is JFK Jr. with us? Love and peace. Yes or no, Gene?
That one I will not confirm nor deny.
There you go. All right. Real quick, guys. I know we only have 10 minutes left. 0398, what's your question quickly?
Completely like an angelic.
Mute your stream.
Hello.
Hey, mute your stream, please.
Hey, I'm here.
All right, go ahead. What's your question, Mom? Who's this?
Oh, Cato.
Kato, what's your question real quick, my friend?
Yeah, what I wanted to know is, I've heard that Barack Berry, Dingleberry, Barack Hussein Obama,
sure,
that he was a clone of Akhenaten, and that's the same bloodline as the Rothschild, and that's why he has the scars on his head to reduce the size of his melon. Is this true?
Go ahead, Gene or Linda.
You want to go, Linda?
Great question. Thank you so much.
So, not a clone descendant of. Akhenaten is what is called an Adamite, which after they blew up Tiamat, they came here, and he's descendant thereof. Yeah, they have the big tall heads, and so they have like the Pope wears and all those people wearing the big hats. That's why they wear hats.
Sure. Yeah. Real quick, we got another super chat coming in. No one truly understand what Gene just said about the solar flare. LOL. Seriously, thank you for coming on, Gene. Any possibility of another appearance? Big smiley face from the Mikado 16. Gene's always welcome. It doesn't. This is fine. It's up to Gene, right? It's not.
To Thomas and Linda.
I love it. I mean, this is you're great. You're a great guest. I'm glad Linda brought you with us. So big ups to Linda. Next, we're going to take another caller real quick, 0398.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your fabulousness.
Oh, thank you.
This is Kay from California, from Hollyweird.
Okay.
And Gene, you're the first person who's corroborated what Simon Parks has been saying. Have you heard of him about how the Wuhan flu started?
Yes, I have. I actually have Zoomed with him after he saw my dumpty code.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And
on the edge. He's really laid back, and he's very, very well informed. He has some serious inside information, and so yeah, I totally concur with everything he said. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. And I have a quick question. I can't remember who I heard it from, but they were saying that there was going to be a second Passover this year, and to put, if you're with Jesus, to put his blood over your door. But I don't know how to do that other than put a little red wine or something. So do you have any advice? Or does that sound like a lot of woo-woo nonsense to you?
Great question, Kate. Thank you.
On Rick's show, I'm blessed to teach about exactly the second Passover for what's going on, and so I would pray in the love and light of the one infinite Creator and His Son Christ, and then just take that feeling in your heart and go to your door and hug your door.
There you go.
Put it into the door, and you're good to go.
Carl to go. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Thomas. Hi, Linda. Hi, Gene. And everybody in the chat that's watching. Love you guys, of course. Now, my question goes to Gene. We emailed back and forth a while back. My question is, what groups or entities use portal technology to transport to and from individuals while they're sleeping?
Wow, that's a big question.
Only
Great question.
negative entities use portal technology. The early portal
Thank you, Carl.
technology clones you immediately. Then you don't have a soul. You can use stargates, like in the sun gates, like what's going on right now. There's a huge battle around the sun. You can look and see it on Soho. But portals, only demonics, they can only go horizontally or down in density all the way down to the underverse to Sophia, like I talked about on McAllister's show, on Linda's show. And so portals are not something that somebody's in service to God and Christ would ever use. It's a good way to get possessed.
Wow. Let's see. Last call of the day, 3665. Welcome to the show.
Thomas, my friend, Eric Fogg calling.
What's up, Eric? How are you?
What's up? Hey, I just want to say I've been following you since the closet.
Oh, thanks.
Such a long way.
Thanks, dude. Brother. Thanks, man. I watch you on Twitter, and I thank you for the super chats, and you're a good man, my friend. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks. Just one statement, basically. Alex Jones red-pilled me after 9/11, and what's going on now is he got that black eye marker after Q started posting, so he's corrupt.
100%. Mossad.
Yep.
Mossad.
That's all I got to say, brother.
Eric, you have a good one, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for the quickness as well. Yeah, don't trust old AJ. Not smart to do. By the way, just a massive super chat coming at us from a new name I've never seen before, Crypto Beatles. Massive super chat. Thank you so much, Crypto. He says, do you believe there is an underground war going on right now? Please briefly explain for everyone wondering about the 6,000% increase in unsealed indictments, exponential rise in earthquakes with no aftershocks. Where we go one, we go all. God bless all. I think this is a great question to end on. Linda, what do you think about, or just a brief explanation to, is there an underground, I'll just give it to you 3 pieces. Is there an underground war going on right now?
I believe there is, yeah.
Explain why, if people are wondering why there is a 6,000% increase in unsealed indictments.
Well, I'd like to hear what Gene has to say about this, because he probably has more knowledge on this than I do.
Gene, is there an underground war going on right this minute?
Yeah, hugely. And I have eyewitness accounts. When I see the earthquakes and that stuff, literally people that have contacted me through Gmail for all over the world now. So often I've talked to many of them on the phone. I'll call them or text them, and they've gone out, for example, for Dulce when that happened, for Dugway Proving Ground, for Grand Junction, and I'm coordinating something with that right now, as well as for Grand Mesa. The people have gone out and seen the black helicopters and the special forces blowing the dumb doors off in some cases, going into the domes, going down into the tunnels, seeing the kids being taken up, seeing a lot of this stuff going on. So it's for me, it's not something I believe, it's something I know. All of this is going on. I have too many people, as well as the Ultra lady I was telling you about, that she goes through a list of DUMs that are the specific ones that she was taken in, where they do the SRA and the Ultra work, the MK stuff. She gave a list that I don't know anyone other than a couple sources that know which ones are which ones are for Ultra, which ones are for space programs, which are for which. And she gave the list absolutely perfectly. So yeah, this is definitely going on. They're definitely down there. I would say to go and drive around and go, if you're in Colorado, go from Grand Junction up to Grand Mesa and look at all the vents coming out of the ground. Go on to back roads, people, and drive around. If you see trucks and big trucks disappearing down dirt roads, after a while go out there and look and see if they just seem to drive off into the field and then they're just gone. So
all right, so real quick, Gene, explain why there's a 6,000% increase in unsealed indictments right now, and why is there a rise in earthquakes with no aftershocks? Just quickly, Gene.
Yeah, dumb takeouts and arrests.
Dumb takeouts and arrests. There you go. Crypto Beetle, I tried to break everything down for you. I believe the same thing. Underground war going on right now? Absolutely. Briefly explain to everyone wondering about the 6,000 increase in unsealed indictments. There are tons of arrests that are about to take place. We're talking traffickers, CEO resignments. We're going to be going into politicians, a lot of people, Hollywood. A lot of these people are getting arrested for crimes against humanity, so on and so forth. A lot of them are also money laundering, murder, a bunch of bad things have taken place, my friend. So I hope that satisfies you with your big donation. So I try to stick with you. LH San Diego, right here. Thank you so much, LH. They say, I've lived in SoCal my entire life, 58 years. I'm 15 minutes from downtown San Diego. That was no earthquake. Wow. Big dunk right there. Julie Sweeney, thank you so much. What did Trump mean by if we knew what was done, we'd all rush to the doctor? I think that clarifies it for itself that they're saving kids from underground and from a networking, tunneled sex trafficking ring. Nina G, thank you so much, Nina G. At TRUreporting, at Linda, at Gene. I could listen to all of you all night. What an enlightening and great show. Thank you. Blessings and love to you all. Thank you, Nina G. That was very sweet. Thank you. Q Mom says, thank you, True, Linda and Gene, for everything you are doing to help educate the masses, me included. Hugs. Thank you, Q Mom. I appreciate it. And that's the show. Right at 10:15. I want to thank everybody for sticking around. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe, do whatever you can to support what we're doing here today. Expand. Thank you for #pack in the chat. I appreciate it. Linda, where can everyone find you and plug away?
You can find me at McAllisterTVOnline.com in case anything happens to my YouTube channel, which is McAllister TV on YouTube. And then I'm also on BitChute. And you can find me at Linda_Paris on Twitter.
Absolutely. Linda, I'm so stoked to have you back. For us to be doing this. Great. It's been a minute, and I'm excited. To be honest, this was an amazing show. Thank you for bringing Gene. Gene, again, can you toss out your email for us? Are you on Twitter, by the way?
I have no social media due to OPSEC.
Very well. Again, what is your email? Slowly, one more time.
COLOSENSEI64@gmail.com. Charlie Oscar Lima Oscar Sierra Echo November Sierra Echo India.
There you go, my friends. This was a beast of a show, and I mean that in a good way because I know a lot of people don't like that word. I hope you enjoyed it. We touched on so many things today. We're back, baby, and we'll be back. As of right now, you know, my son, I won't be seeing my son because of the quarantines and everything. Yeah, so we'll be back next Friday from 8 to 10, guys. Okay. Show your love. I appreciate it. I hope you guys were stoked about it because this was one for the books. I want to thank each and every one of you who donated, who shared, who liked, who subscribed, who clicked that notification bell, and everyone who called in. And I want to thank all the mods for sticking around. Thanks to each and every one of you.
Thanks to the mods.
They're killing it.
Definitely.
They're killing it. I love them. Guys, we will talk to you very soon. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and God bless each and every one of you. Bye-bye.